Hey, I'm Alicia, your non-monogamous relationship coach. Welcome to the podcast where my friends and I chat about our relationships, enthusiastic non-monogamy, polyamory, swinging, kink, and our lives. You'll get a candid peek into what makes it worth it to live life outside the box. And in case you're still wondering, nope, we're not monogamous. How can you recognize what you're feeling, what your emotions are, and what even to do with those? I'm chatting with Isha Vela today, a trauma psychologist and a somatic practitioner and shadow doula who supports individuals and couples in deepening their intimacy, their connection, their relationship satisfaction, and they use body wisdom and somatic expressive techniques. And so we chat a lot about that, but also about Isha's own journey in how they came to understand and embrace non-monogamy as a part of their own identity. It's fascinating and really fun. And I love this story so much. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. I also want to give a quick shout out to Shane G for becoming a friend with benefits to Nope, We're Not Monogamous on Patreon, where Shane is going to get access to ad-free episodes and early released episodes and our behind the scenes content, just the tip. If you want to know more about that, visit patreon.com/notmonogamous. And if you enjoy the episode, please leave us a review, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and just have a great day. Thanks. There we go. And we're going. Cool. So, Isha, like I was saying, the podcast is Nope, We're Not Monogamous. And so I always like to start by asking guests what non-monogamy looks like for them, or what kind of relationship styles you use or engage in.
That's a great question. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's so different, right? It's so varied. Well, I consider myself a solo polyamorous person. I don't live with anyone, share my finances, don't plan to. And I'm also a relationship anarchist. So, I have all types of relationships that are very, very meaningful to me, some sexual, some not. Some of those are friendships with benefits, and some of them have been more long-term, deep partners, and even my deep relationships, my non-sexual or platonic relationships have equal weight in my life. Like I don't say oh, well, I'm not in a relationship because I'm not having sex with anyone, but yes, I'm very nourished by the relationships in my life, and so those have meaning as well and weight.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I every time I talk to someone who identifies as solo poly, I always find it fascinating because most of my life, that's not something I could have even conceived of, actually understood. And the older I get, the more I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I see.
And I spent almost 20 years of my life married in a monogamous relationship without there being any inkling or any talk of opening the relationship. So I know what that's like.
Yeah.
And I've attempted that. And I know that model is just very much not for me, even though I tried very hard to fit inside of that box. It's just not for me. Yeah.
Same. It was 13 years. I just got to get it right. I got to be a good wife and do the thing.
Right. I got to work hard at this.
Or not. So how did you find non-monogamy as a structure?
Well, it's so interesting, Alicia, because prior to being an entrepreneur, I worked as a psychologist and somatic practitioner in a brick and mortar office in downtown, where I live. And I was supporting a lot of people in their non-monogamous polyamorous relationships. Yeah. So I was already sort of doing that work before it was even something that I attempted. And so what I was helping people with is basically communicating from, from a level of intimacy and vulnerability and connection in order to have like repair processes and work on attachment wounds and right doing all of that healing work that happens, that can potentially happen inside of relationships, and especially like that gets dinged and triggered in multiple relationships. And I loved it so much, and that I was reading up on it. I was just interested in general, and I think I had people in my life at the time who were friends who were non-monogamous. um, and then when I began the process of, well, actually, when I was in my somatic training also, I had a lot of really profound experiences, healing experiences around intimacy, right? That was all around intimacy work,
Mm-hmm.
where I was feeling like my heart opened to them. I was feeling myself like access deeper levels of love
Mm-hmm.
that I had never experienced before. And these were not romantic partners. These were like just people, colleagues in my program.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of what opened the door to like just have the gave me the experience of relationship anarchy, of like, yeah, you don't have to be sexual with someone to have this profound healing
Mm.
relationship. And just like, yeah, that just those two things, the counseling polyamorous couples and having my experiences of healing within relationships that were non-sexual, very profound for me. And so when I initiated the separation in my marriage, I wasn't interested in entering a new relationship immediately, but I knew that I was very open and that I was like, yeah, we're going to try this.
Mhm, mhm.
We're going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you, because I imagine a lot of people listening don't actually know what somatic work is.
Yeah, sure.
Can you give us like a quick and dirty?
Sure. I'm going to try. Um, you know, we I'll just start by saying that we are not attuned to our bodies. Generally
Mhm,
speaking, as a culture, we are not attuned, are not connected in our bodies. We often respond or react without really knowing what is getting activated inside.
mhm, yeah.
And so, what I help people do is track what is happening, sensations, experiences, what parts are getting hurt right now. What are the thoughts? What attributions are you making? What assumptions are you making right now? Can you track your nervous system right now? Or do you feel like you're in fight or flight? Do you feel safe or social? Like what's going on? So I'm just helping people get access at a deeper level. And
Yeah.
then to be able to express, hey, I'm noticing like a really profound fear in my lower belly that is
Mhm,
affecting how I'm coming into this conversation right now. And so to be able to communicate with their body sensations, like what is happening right now, how am I coming into this conversation? And then also I do sort of a somatic style of internal family systems for people to
mhm.
be able to meet the places that are activated, to respond to the needs that are arising, right?
Yeah.
So that they can respond to the need, because our needs just need to be acknowledged and responded to. And oftentimes like that part of us goes like, "Oh, okay, you saw me. Okay, I'm okay. I'm okay now."
I'm
Right?
better. It's
We
all
often
good.
think like I have to get my needs met, but oftentimes it really is just about acknowledging like, "Wow, I really need connection right now." And can I
Mhm.
can I reach out to somebody and ask for that?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. I think because the way I work is very similar, and so often what I see people do is scramble for the logical. I need a logical answer of why this is happening, why I'm feeling this way, and as soon as I know what the logical answer is or who's at fault,
Yes.
then it can be okay.
Yeah,
But
no.
it's never okay with just that.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
we don't need to know why.
yeah.
We just need to be with what is, with what's here right now.
Mm, yeah, so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so you separated and went, there's something open here. What would you say was what was the biggest challenge in that? Like what came up the most?
So a lot. So first I took a year and a half off
Mm,
from dating anybody because I really wanted to like fall in love and date myself. And that was really sort
beautiful.
of part of the path to solo polyamory. I knew that there were things that I had done, enacted in my marriage that I didn't want to repeat in my
Mhm,
next relationships. And so I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go inward here. And so that was really important to do. And then when I was finally ready, I was just like, it's on. Like I went into it with such enthusiasm and almost like a field research kind of energy. And what I noticed is that I was getting dinged all over the place. Like here I am doing this work and my system is like is like inherently or conditioned in a codependent way, and
mhm.
my codependency is like tick, 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 like flailing all over the place, and I was having to sort of gather those parts of myself and be like, no, 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 you're okay, it's okay if they're not texting back right now, like
Uh-huh.
really talking myself out of all of this anxious ambivalent attachment.
Yes.
Really, like that was, you know I worked hard for a summer, like for a whole summer. I worked really
Mhm,
hard. And I know that sometimes it takes people longer to do this. And I feel really lucky that because I was sort of trained in what I was trained in, that I was able to sort of like do a lot of repair work in one summer.
mhm,
So that was very surprising to me. It was just because the people that I've dated have been relationship anarchists. And so I knew that's what I wanted to explore, but I wasn't prepared. I didn't realize how activating it would be for my body, for my
mhm.
relational body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I would say it took me like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
anxious and
Yeah.
like, oh no, I don't want to be monogamous, but like also this is really fucking hard.
Yeah, and I still feel the part of me that wants
Yeah.
like one person or what, like I still and I was like, yeah, that's not what you want. That's not what you value. But I still feel that conditioning come up once in a
Yeah.
while of just like, I want just the security and I just want it to be like just mm,
Just stare at
just
me all the time, will you?
just want your focus.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Just stare at me. We'll be fine. It'll be great. I mean, I'll get real sick of it, but it's what I want right now.
Exactly, exactly.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Yeah.
love that. Um, so one of the questions I always ask people is if there was if you had like a coming out story, if you had to share this new way of being in relationships with people in your life and how that landed.
Can you answer the question again? Because it cut out just a little bit.
Oh yeah, just
Yeah.
if there's a coming out story, did you find yourself at a place where you had to um share how you were moving forward in relationships with people in your life and how did it land?
Mm. Yeah, like for me, it was more with my kids
Yeah.
because I wanted to be considerate, obviously, of people entering and leaving my life because, sometimes relationships last 3 months or 6 months or a year, and so I was careful with bringing people into their lives, and I did introduce them to a few people that looked to be like more long-standing friendships.
Mhm.
Um, and so, like, at some point I was like, 2 years post-divorce, I'm like, do you know that I date? And they're looking at me like, whoa. And then I shared with them like, okay, this is sort of the model that I remember I talked about this person. Well, is attached to three. And so I know those three people too. And they're my friends also. And then I drew this picture and it was like it ended up being this giant map of people. And then I'm like, we're all friends. And they're like, oh, okay.
You just told us who all your friends are. Cool.
Yeah, right, exactly. They were just nonplussed, right? They were just like, not moved at all. With my, with my mom, I wanted to share with her, some of my
Mm-hmm.
experiences, and my mom was just very afraid for
Yeah.
me because
Yeah.
she was just thinking about like, me meeting strangers in an alley. Like her image was just like, there was one time she called me in the middle of the night and I was like, what is happening? You don't call me in the middle of the night. What's going on? She's like, I had a nightmare that you were, and I was just like, okay, stop.
Oh,
This is not my trauma.
mama's heart.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and so, I don't share with her as much anymore,
Hmm.
just because I wanna keep her nervous system, like, in check.
Yeah.
So I share with my friends, I share with my, other people who are very open and, people kinda took to it like, "Yeah, that just seems very normal for you, like, we expect that," or,
Yeah.
when I came out as gender fluid, they were just like, "Yeah, we've always known you're fluid," and I was like, "Why didn't anybody tell me?"
That's amazing. I love that. People always know.
Yeah.
Can I ask about how old were your kids?
My kids are now 11 and 9.5, and I came out to them, like, maybe 6 months ago only. So,
Okay.
yeah, not too
Yeah.
long ago.
Oh, I love that. Mine are, like 11, 15, no, 12, 15.
Ah,
And
nice.
I mean, I've been non-monogamous since they were like 3 and 5
Okay.
or so. And so people always ask, right? Like, well, what about your
Yeah,
kids? And I'm like, well,
yeah,
what about them?
yeah.
It doesn't feel weird for them,
Yes.
right? We just have a
Yeah,
lot of friends and people that care in the house.
yeah, and I always imagined, like, the model that I always sort of that I still hold as a vision is just having some sort of, like, land or commune that with little pods,
Yeah.
homes where people live and they get to experience a sense of community in
Yeah.
those relationships. That's sort of what my ideal.
Yeah.
So the solo polyamory isn't about, isolation or anything like
Mm.
that. I mean, it definitely looked like that in the pandemic, but my ideal really is about community and about
Mm.
connection and
Mhm.
sharing resources and sharing childcare,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, support and growing food together. That is sort of my vision for what it can be.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. So I'm curious if you think or believe that like polyamory or non-monogamy is a part of who you are, like an identity or an orientation or a choice. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. I've thought of this a lot.
Hmm.
When I began loving in that way, it felt very much like coming home. It felt very much like, oh, this has always felt normal to me. And ever since I was in sixth grade, I didn't want to get married. And I, again, like I said, I tried to fit into that box. I tried to do the normative thing. And I had, I was sort of I was like attracted to my friends and like I was always very fluid in how I loved. And so it felt very much like permission to just love the way I want to love and be in relationship, in spiritual partnerships with all sorts of people, regardless of the activities that we do together. Some of the most powerful healing relationships I've had have been with people that I have not had sex with. Um, so it felt very much like coming home. It felt very much like, oh, this is the way I've always been. And so, yeah, a lot of people choose non-monogamy for lots of different reasons.
Hmm.
From my experience with clients, they choose because like, ooh, I want to add some spice into my life, but there has to be a willingness and an openness. And so
Yeah.
there's a part of me that believes that, maybe it isn't a choice. Maybe it just seems like a natural progression or a natural kind of curiosity and openness to experiencing for me, it feels very much part of my identity
Yeah.
as like, this is how I love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. And I remember there was a point in time where I definitely thought like when I got divorced, I was like, I'm just not going to be monogamous again. I don't want to do that again. But I didn't know anybody. I had no exposure.
Oh,
I didn't know
yeah.
anybody else who was non-monogamous in any form other than cheating, right?
Yeah.
And so I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm going to be a slut and like do what I want. And I'll just be honest about it because that seems like the right thing to do. And then I learned more. And but it really it felt like, oh, this is actually just feels right for me.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it just feels right.
Yeah, that rightness, there's nothing like that feeling of just like a settledness in your body, of just like a congruence, right?
Mhm.
Your
Yeah.
with your values, like it just this feeling of alignment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I along on that same thing is when I started on this path, I
Yeah.
thought that it was just for sex, and I did not think I was polyamorous. And it was like a
Okay.
couple of years, several years. And I was like, well, I'm not going to love more than one person. Not like that, right? Like I'm not going to fall in love with multiple people at the same time. That's just not real. I was like, I know other people do it. It can be real for other people. And then it happened and I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
there it is. I see."
That's really interesting that you bring that up, because one thing that has been very important to me in my own process of healing my intimacy wounds has been to not separate love from sex.
Hmm.
And it's not that I was ever, really like, oh, I'm just going to have sex and not love you, or just love you and not it's been something that I've always wanted to have, like sort of united and together.
Yeah.
And so I've had lots of opportunities to just have sex, but it's not been something I'm like, no, because that's not what I'm really.
Hmm.
I feel like very much my path is to have spiritual partnerships that are sexual, like to
Hmm.
have all of it and to have all of that with multiple people. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
So
really good.
that was a sort of a boundary that I had with myself, because there were certainly times where I'm just like, oh yeah, this is just going to be a sex story. And then I was like, no, 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 we're not doing that.
This could be, but mm-hmm. Um, do you get jealous?
You know what? I'm not a, I'm one of those people that doesn't feel that very often. I can remember very distinct times that I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my ex-husband used to kind of try to make me jealous, but it would
Yeah.
just kind of turn me on when he would talk about other people being attracted to him. I'd be like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So I really get, like, when a partner has another partner and they tell me something about their other partner, I feel more turn on than a sense of loss or rejection.
Yeah.
I kind of, my interest gets piqued, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm one of those like polysexual people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating for me. Because I have that experience more now. And I've found that like the more secure my relationship is and the more I feel like safe and comfortable, the more I can feel like compersion and be excited for
Yes.
them. But kind of my natural inclination is to get jealous. Like all of those wounds get activated. And so that's been
Yeah.
like my biggest challenge. And so I
Yeah.
talk about it a lot because people have this idea that like if you're not monogamous, you're not a jealous person or you're not going to experience
Yes.
jealousy or I'm
Yeah.
like, no, that's
No.
not real.
No, jealousy for me, I mean, even though I don't experience it often, I encounter it with my clients, and it's like it really is an opportunity to just, it is like the exploration of desire, because it's
Yeah.
just like, right, it's like comes from a place of like wanting, and for me, my process, I remember one time when one of my FWBs like left a voice message for me, and he was in bed with a partner, and so his partner chimed into the voice message, and my first reaction was like like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, and my
Mm.
system got a little jacked, and I was like, oh God, I would have liked a warning. And then I was like, oh, that's really nice that he introduced me. Like he wanted me to know her. Okay, that's cool. And it took like, I don't know, like a half hour, 45 minutes of just like, oh, I really like that actually, you know? But that first reaction was just like a big pullback of really like, oh, you know, punch in the gut.
I know that, like, as you're describing it, I can feel it. I'm like, oh, I know
Yeah.
that feeling. Yeah. And then like, okay, let me process through this, figure out what's going on here.
Yeah.
It clearly was not meant to harm me.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's things, there's certain things that like still that are just, I don't know if I'm ever gonna like resolve them. They're just like activations for me. Like when people don't respect my time, when
Mm,
I feel like, okay, I'm waiting for you to get back to me about when we can meet up, and I'm waiting for you to get back to me because I need to tell so and so, so and so, and so and so, so I can coordinate with all of my people, and they're not getting back to me. I'm like, or I'm flipping out.
yeah. Yeah.
Because like my time is very precious to me. I have my kids part-time, and so that 50% of alone time, I'm just kind of like, I want to maximize my fun, I want to maximize my peace and my joy. And I was like, you are getting in the way of that right now.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Totally understandable. What would you say what would you say makes a relationship successful?
Whew. I think very simply, at the core level, a willingness to be fuck honest,
Hmm.
um, and to take full responsibility for what's happening within.
Yeah.
That willingness to show up in the work, the radical responsibility, and that truth, that honesty. I think, I'm sure there's many more things, but those three things for me are fundamental.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Like I've experienced ruptures where, when each person comes in and says, yeah, I pushed you away and I feel really sorry about that. And you can feel that they're sorry. That those repair processes have been incredible. They've healed something for me because it's like, yeah, I fucked up. And it doesn't come from a place of guilt or like, but just like, hey, here it is. I messed up, and this is why I did what I did, and I regret having done that, and I know that I hurt you. And I was like, oh wow, that's huge,
Yeah.
and the willingness to show up in that way in relationships is incredible, I think.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
what
yeah,
about
because
for you?
people are gonna mess up. Like we're
Yeah. Oh,
human, right? We're gonna do
yeah.
things. Yeah, so that is a real I completely agree. I always think of um when people start feeling like less intimacy, less connection, it's because they aren't getting vulnerable with each other. And a lot of times
Yes.
they aren't getting vulnerable with each other because of the hurts that have happened and
Yes.
because they're feeling guilty or they're feeling ashamed, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so when you can overcome that and just talk about all the things, like it's not gonna get worse. You're already disconnected. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but we get afraid of that rejection or abandonment, or that
yeah,
somebody's not gonna meet us in that place, right? And sometimes that happens, right? But
yeah,
that again goes back to the willingness to listen and to be present, and to, right, to be vulnerable. It just all comes back to that. Like the willingness to work together. Like I
mm,
wanna I wanna know you. I wanna support you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, okay, okay. Here's a question I have. What is something that anybody can do for free that will help them approach relationships in a healthier way?
Oh gosh. People do for free to help them in
Mhm.
relationships. So many things, and yet nothing specific is coming to mind. Cultivate presence with themselves. Absolutely. I
Mm.
would say just develop awareness to what's happening inside, attuning to sensations and experiences without labeling them, without intellectualizing them, without digging in to find why, but
Mm-hmm.
just having a relationship of just neutral observation of what is happening in your body and just kind of hanging out with those things. Hanging
Yeah.
out with what's happening. Okay, I'm noticing, woof, yep, I'm noticing myself getting really fired up. My hands are tingling. Okay, we're just gonna take a breath and be here. Whew, okay.
Yeah.
That kind of process, that's sort of what my day looks like of just, oh, okay, I'm just noticing this and I'm gonna be with that. And I'm noticing this thought or this sensation or this part's getting activated again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Most people I feel like that I run into, it's very cultural or very disconnected from their bodies and just think, and have no idea what's happening. And when you say to them like, what's happening in your body, they're like, I don't know, I got gas. Like, I don't know.
Right.
What do you
They go
mean?
immediately to the physical, right?
Yes.
Typically, yeah, unless they've had some experience, maybe with yoga or with other modalities that are about cultivating a connection. But yeah, most people are just named the physical, and it's like, no, there's levels of awareness, right? There
Yeah.
is the physical, but there is also the emotional, there is the intuitive, there is the energetic.
Mm.
And in my training, I was so lucky to train with someone who had a background in tantra and in light work, Barbara Brennan light work.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it was really about like the way when we connect with somebody, when we meet someone, just like I'm meeting with you, like what part of us is going out energetically to the other person, right? Because we have like little energy tentacles that like, ooh,
Yeah.
I want. And sometimes if we are sensitive ourselves, we can feel that. We can feel people of reaching out for us or holding on or trying to merge with us or push us away.
Mm.
We're people aren't stupid. We can feel that energy, but we don't learn to experience the world energetically,
Yeah.
right? But there's so much happening on the energy level that we don't see, but we feel and we react to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
helping people become aware of that level is like what I love to do. That is
Mm.
like my zone of just pleasure.
I love that. I love hearing you
Yeah.
talk about it because it's
Yeah.
clear that you are passionate about it. I wonder how much of that, when we talk about people having chemistry,
Yes.
right? Like we know there's like
Exactly.
pheromones involved and there's
Right. There's a
physiological
biological thing.
things, but like
Yeah.
what's happening energetically?
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes. Can I tell you about an experience I had
Yes.
recently that is very much in line with that? Like I went to Mexico recently to a conference that was connected to the school I went to for my somatic training. And it happened every 2 years. We didn't get to go in COVID. So this was the first year we were able to meet in 3 or 4 years. And I went down there with like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna meet somebody and have sex. Like I'm just feeling kind of like I just want to have an adventure and it's gonna be amazing. And then I ended up going to a workshop where it was about erotic energy, like feeling the erotic energy and moving it through your body. And I got paired up with someone in the community, and my energy, like as soon as he and I came together, it was like pop. I wasn't attracted to him, but there was an energetic like agreement of like, oh yeah, we were about to go off.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, but we were both in our yes energy. And I was like shaking and moving. And I was just like, oh my God, I could do this all fucking day. This is amazing. And my sexual energy was just flying. It was open. It was like very free. And we were there for like 45 minutes and connecting and having fun. No touch involved, just witnessing each other.
Uh-huh.
And when I was done, I said to my friend, "Oh my God, that was the best sex I've ever had." That is exactly what I came for.
Mm,
There was no physical touch. Like I said, it was just energy sex. And it was like, it was just feeling myself, but having that part of me witnessed that was like
yes.
so potent for me.
Yes. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I do. I talk about that. I'm like, look, like people, especially when we fall in love and we're like, oh my God, this person makes me feel so good. I feel so amazing around them. And I'm like, but that's you.
Yes,
You're doing that. They
exactly.
aren't doing that. They're just putting up a mirror and showing you what's awesome about you and
Yes.
making you believe it because it's like
Yes.
so clear.
Yeah, I experienced that with NRE when
Yes.
the first time, like my first date with somebody, I was just like, wow, the energy coursing through my body. I was like shaking. I was like having laughter orgasms. It was just like I was popping off. And I, I was like, oh my God, this person. And my friends were like, no, no, that's you.
Yeah, yeah, that's you.
They were very clear. Like my little codependent was like, "Ooh, that person." And they were all like, "No, it's you.
Uh-huh,
That's
uh-huh.
all in you." And I realized, yeah, it's true. Like this is my energy. This
Yeah.
is my eros.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I just like that's kind of I think that's one of my biggest wishes for the world, for everybody to know that like all of that good stuff is it's being
Yeah, that
generated internally.
that is your juice.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Oh, I love it.
Hmm.
Um, is there anything that you would like to share with the people listening that I haven't asked you?
I don't know that there's something I feel like is coming up for me around, I entered non-monogamy slash polyamory in my 40s, in my mid 40s and up.
Mm,
And so there's something about that that feels significant. I don't really know what to say about it, but meeting other people who were also divorced, or who also had children and who were
mhm,
on this path and who were very much into exploration and play. There's something just really unique about meeting people that age versus in your 30s. Like if I think of myself in my 30s, I was like, a fun person to be around, but I just didn't have the wisdom and the insight and the groundedness in
mm.
myself, my connection to myself that I have now. And so that feels really special. And beyond 50, I don't know what that looks like because I haven't gotten there yet, but yeah, I'm curious about that, and I'm curious to hear what you've heard or experienced through your clients or through your own experience about like polyamory in different age sets or different decades of your life.
Yeah, yeah. It's really fascinating actually. So I was 35 and was like, well, what I'm doing isn't working, so moving on. Um and it's fascinating like generationally.
Yeah.
I'm watching all of these people, like in their 20s who are just so much one just bitter about the system that's been placed before them. Like, what do
Yes.
you mean that's what we have to do? We don't fucking want to do that.
Yes.
Why? And I'm so joyful for them to
Yeah.
know that there are other options because we didn't.
Yeah.
Like this is just what you
Totally.
do, right? We didn't know. You find the one and you get married and you go and you do whatever they want to do. And but so people are there's whole generations of people now who are going, look, I love people and I'm gonna love them in a way that suits me and everyone I'm in a relationship with.
Yeah.
And I adore that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I
makes
think
me so
that's
happy.
fantastic. Yes. No, yeah, even with my own kids who are, younger than yours, I wonder how your kids are, how they're entering the world of relationships right now, like, ooh, that's fascinating, right? That's a whole podcast episode right there.
Right?
And I wonder how my children, I sometimes do wonder, like, how will they be entering the world, having me as a model, even though I don't, introduce them to people, but just knowing that's who I am, they know that I'm queer. They're very sort of open themselves, and I'm just like, wow, this is gonna be. I'm just gonna sit back and just be fascinated by how they go ahead and do this, you know.
Yeah.
So I really love the direction that we're going in and the permission that we're giving ourselves to just disrupt the things that we've sort of been presented as assumptions, as like, okay, well, this is the next step, this is your template,
Yeah.
and this is what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to like it and enjoy it, and it's supposed to fulfill you. And yeah, no.
Gosh, why are you all so depressed? You're
Yeah.
married and you're in a monogamous relationship, and that's everything you're supposed to want.
Yeah,
What's wrong?
I had everything. I had everything, and I
Yeah.
said no to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Mm. I think, yeah, just choices, right? Like people having knowing that there are choices and they get to make choices.
Yes, yes, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be married. Like I've seen tons of people who do it really beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I actually was I was at a play party a couple weekends ago, and I met this couple who were so into each other, and they had known each other for I think 25 years, and I was just like in such delight being around them because of how into each other they were. And I was just like, fuck yes, that is like, ah, so gorgeous. So it's like there isn't any judgment in me about like, oh, this is, I prefer this or no, this.
Yeah.
No, it's like you get to have the relationship you want and that feels aligned for you. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. It's just the conscious choice, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
know what your options are and then choose what works for you.
Yeah, choice is liberation.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was a real pleasure. I had so much fun laughing and chatting with you.
Yes, yes. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you came on. I really appreciate it. Um, uh, Tell me a little bit about your work. What do you do?
Yeah, well, I have two branches of my business. They're both intimacy related. The first branch is working with couples, individuals and couples who are wanting to create spiritual partnerships that are deeply connected and like just rooted in the body. And so I'm in the process of branching out into in-person events that I'm going to be
Yeah.
offering in the new year. So I'm really excited about
Ooh.
that, and all like around energy, like
Yeah.
really looking at like how we interact with each other energetically. But I do have like packages, like 6-month packages where I see people and couples and things like that, so that I love it.
Yeah.
And then the other branch of my business is working with people, with entrepreneurs, in like basically embodied leadership of their business and creating businesses that are attuned to their nervous systems, that are attuned to their maybe neurodiversity,
Mm-hmm.
to their neurodiverse needs, and maybe their trauma. Like I am a traumatized human running a business. I need a lot of time to do emotional processing. I need my morning routine to center myself and ground myself. Like I just need a lot of space. And so my business has to create that space for me. So really creating bespoke businesses and doing it in a way that like, yeah, like what works for you, what delights you, what gives you maximum pleasure.
Mm.
So doing that work is really exciting right now. And I have a Facebook group that I just opened. I'm going to be doing trainings there. So yeah. So really
Yay.
loving all of the work that I do right now. And I have a podcast too, Devotional Anarchy. I'd love to invite you onto that.
Ooh.
But yeah, that's sort of what I do right now.
Awesome. I love it. That's so good. I'm going to put the links to all your stuff in the show notes so people can find you.
Thank you. I
And then I'm going to go
appreciate
check out your podcast.
that.
Yay.
Yay.
Wonderful. Okay, I have one more. I have a segment that I only give to the supporters of the show. It's called Just the Tip, and it is what is your what is your best or favorite sex tip? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia.
Thank you so much to Isha Vela for coming on the show today. This was just a really wonderful conversation. And if you would like to learn more about their work or follow them in any of the places that we follow people, check out the show notes for the details. Thanks.